This girl, whose identity remains redacted, is known to have been a minor at the time. In her testimony, she claims she met an individual who was introduced to her by a friend. According to her statement, she was offered $200 to perform a palm massage for an elderly man. She alleges that under the guise of this massage, he proceeded to assault her and touch her inappropriately. However, the story of this man and the predatory network he built began long before this encounter. This is Maria Farmer. She was a 26-year-old rising star at the New York Academy of Art. She is talented, hardworking, and looking for money to pay her tuition. She had already found a German buyer willing to pay $12,000 for her painting, but her dean, Eileen Guggenheim, pressured her to sell it to Ghislaine Maxwell for just $6,000 instead. Shortly after, Maxwell approached her with an offer to work as an art advisor, a role that Maria hoped would finally launch her career. She was really excited and accepted it. In 1996, Maxwell suggested that Maria go to the Ohio estate of billionaire Les Wexner. They told her it would be a quiet place for her to work. It was during this stay in Ohio that Maxwell approached Maria with a request for a palm massage, claiming her partner was under immense stress and needed help with tension. When Ghislaine approached her, the request felt off strange. But Maria was a guest in a billionaire's home and she was young. She told herself it was just a medical favor for a patron. After all, it was just a palm massage. What could go wrong with a hand massage? And she accepted it. She walked down the long, silent corridor to a private room. On a table in the center of the room, a man lay face down, draped in a towel. He seemed to be sleeping, or at least, he was perfectly still. Maria sat by the table and began massaging the man's hand, working on the tension in his palm as a professional task. For a few minutes, everything seemed normal. Suddenly, the man turned over and pinned her down, dropping his act of being a tired businessman. He assaulted her, forcing her into a situation she couldn't escape. The massage had been a lie, a calculated trap designed to break her boundaries. Maria tried to leave, but found the gates of the estate were electronically locked. When she finally fled the estate, shaking, and went straight to the authorities. She walked into the NYPD and then called the FBI. She told them about the room in Ohio. She told them about the palm massage trap. She told them that the man, Jeffrey Epstein, was a danger to young girls. Jeffrey Epstein's story begins not in the boardrooms of high finance, but in a classroom. A college dropout with a calculating mind, he secured a position teaching physics and mathematics at Manhattan's prestigious Dalton School. It was an unlikely start for a man who would soon become one of the most mysterious figures in global finance. By the early 1980s, Epstein had parlayed his social connections into a career on Wall Street, working his way into the inner circles of the elite and eventually founding his own firm, J. Epstein and Company, which allegedly only managed assets for billionaires. While Epstein played the part of a genius financier, his real business was a massive, organized system of human trafficking. He used his wealth and connections to build a trap that targeted young girls and women. He often lured them in with the promise of money for simple massages, but once they were inside his homes, they were forced into sexual act and pressured to recruit other girls to keep the system running. The center of this dark operation eventually moved from his mansions in New York and Florida to his private island in the Caribbean, Little St. James. Little St. James is a 72-acre private island located in the US Virgin Islands. It features a main house, guest bungalows, a library, and a large dining hall. To anyone passing by on a boat, it looked like a standard luxury retreat for a wealthy person. However, The island was built with a heavy focus on security, including a complex system of cameras and a private airfield that allowed Epstein to bring people in and out without going through public airports. The island was the final stop in Epstein's trafficking system. He used his private planes to fly young women to this remote location, far away from the reach of the police or their families. Because the island was surrounded by water and miles away from the nearest town, the victims had no way to leave on their own. This isolation gave Epstein total control over everyone who stayed there. By moving his activities to the island, Epstein was able to hide his crimes from the public for a long time. He invited powerful guests to stay there, creating a private environment where he could operate without being watched. The island was essentially a closed world where he set his own rules. For years, the geography of the land served as a wall, keeping his trafficking ring hidden and making it almost impossible for the women trapped there to find help. No matter how high the walls, every empire eventually turns to dust. In March 2005, a mother in Palm Beach, Florida, went to the local police to report that her 14-year-old daughter had been tricked into going to a waterfront mansion to give a massage to a wealthy businessman. It was later found that the man involved was Jeffrey Epstein. The police started a secret investigation into him. However, despite having significant evidence in 2008, the case took a controversial turn.
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
Could you please give us your name?
Jeffrey Epstein.
Even with a huge amount of evidence, the case took a strange turn in 2008. US Attorney Alexander Acosta signed a controversial non-prosecution agreement, a secret deal that let Epstein plead guilty to minor state charges while protecting him from federal prosecution. He served only 13 months in a local jail, and most of that was on work release, which let him spend his days working at his private office. The case stayed hidden for 10 years until news reports and the #MeToo movement forced it back open. In 2019, federal prosecutors in New York filed new sex trafficking charges, ignoring the old Florida deal. Epstein was arrested and faced a high-stakes federal trial that threatened to expose his powerful circle of friends, one of which is Prince Andrew. This is Virginia, just 17 years old. Beside her stands Prince Andrew, with Ghislaine Maxwell positioned directly behind them. They are inside Maxwell's London home, and this photograph is going to be the most important piece of evidence in the entire world. This single frame provides the physical proof that connects the Jeffrey Epstein trafficking network to the highest levels of the British monarchy. Virginia later testified that Prince Andrew was not just a bystander, but a direct participant in the scandal. She alleged that she was lent out to him by Epstein and Maxwell, forced into sexual encounters in London, New York, and on Epstein's private island. While the prince has consistently denied these claims, the public's anger only grew. People wanted answers, and the pressure on the palace became unbearable. Hoping to silence the critics and explain away the photograph once and for all, the prince made a fateful decision. He asked the BBC for an interview. He sat down with Newsnight's Emily Maitlis, believing he could use his status and charisma to end the scandal. Instead, the interview would become a historic disaster, filled with excuses about a medical inability to sweat and a trip to a Pizza Express that would only fuel the fire further.
The world has now seen the photo that Virginia Roberts provided, taken by Epstein, we understand, in Ghislaine Maxwell's.
I don't remember that photograph ever being taken.
Prince Andrew, we are being told, has decided to relinquish all of his royal titles and duties over the allegations linking him to sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein.